Hello, and welcome back to Wario Land 2. On the last episode, we began secret exit hunting, and surprise, surprise, it continues with Chapter 1, One Noisy Morning, Story 5, Defeat the Giant Snake. So, for all future secret exit hunting-y bits, I'm going to be fast-forwarding the level to get to you guys to the relevant part, so I'm not just dropping you in the middle of the level without any context as to where the secret exit is. So, there was already a secret exit in Chapter 1, and there's a second one. It's the big surprise, and it's not that hard to get to. In fact, it's probably faster than defeating the giant snake. You just come and destroy that fake wall, and here it is. Having been able to save some time by not defeating a giant snake, Wario is able to find his way to the basement a little bit sooner to still, unfortunately, find his 3 precious money bags stolen. Because, I mean, why would Wario want to defeat the giant snake in the first place? I mean, it is a resident of his basement. It probably pays taxes to the Lord of the castle, not Lord Wario in a religious sense, but I mean, hey, whoever floats your boat, I won't judge you. But yes, the giant snake wasn't the true snake this time. The true snake were these snaky pirates who are making off with our money bags. But luckily, since we saved a little bit of time by not doing combat with the giant snake, we were able to cut them off. They weren't able to get off the premises, and we were able to instead chase them deeper into the residence into Chapter 2, Go to the Cellar. Story 1, Defeat the Giant Spearman. We've gone from defeating a giant snake to instead defeating the giant spearman. I feel like they throw the Defeat the Giant Spearman a little earlier than they generally would in this one, because normally they wait for, like, Story 2, Story 3, but instead it's Story 1. And I feel like the reason they did that might be to introduce you to the chapter mechanic with a familiar level and goal. I guess rather than a door, also, because doors can be a little bit difficult with this chapter mechanic, which is tied to that block I just hit, which turns on and off the lights. And thank you very much for that money. Generally, I'm not a big fan of lights off mechanics in games. I normally find them a little bit annoying, even in like really good games like Shovel Knight. Generally, the lights off in like Spectre Knight's kind of annoying. But this game handles it in a pretty nice way, because the lights off is kind of handled as a lock and key mechanic, because you go to a dark area and you go, oh, well, I can't see anything. Better turn around and go find a light switch so I can come back when the lights are on. But that doesn't mean you can't go forward with the lights off. Nothing's going to stop you. Doors, platforms, etc. are still active in the darkness. You just need to find it. The only thing that is at a disadvantage in the darkness is you being able to see things. If you know where things are, or just take a crack at the dark, pun only slightly intended. I guess shot in the dark would have been a better pun, but, you know, whatever. Screw it. You can still find things in the dark, is my point. So I kind of like it. It's a little less obnoxious than it generally would be, because if you know where things are, you can just kind of do that and go on where lights are off. The reason why I wanted to go through there while the lights were off is because this entire room would be shrouded in darkness if I would have come in here with the outer light on. So it can kind of be a pain, especially because there's a few gimmicks in this room. Like, this little hole isn't hard to find in the darkness, because if Wario's walking and he passes a one wide hole, he won't fall through it, but he will stutter in his walk. This door, however, would be a pain to find. And finding that door is very important, because it is, in fact, the treasure door. Man, that word almost escaped in a very incorrect manner. A treasure door, and that is, in fact, not how you pronounce treasure. But yes, we come down here and we can find the light switch that would have turned on the light had we so demanded there be a light whenever we went up there previously. But we were a wild child. We did not need that light. But I'm going to turn it on now because I do not want to wander around in the darkness. What I do want to do, however, is torment this ape. If I can... Oh, dang it. I was hoping to ground pound him when I came out of that springy animation, but unfortunately the game did not agree with me. We were unfortunately not able to ground pound him. And this kind of barrel little, like, hidden area is kind of interesting. It's not very hard to find. There's just cash down here. Big fan of, like, little secret things like that where it's very obvious, just because, I mean... This game has enough mean hidden areas. I mean, heck, finding this one was, finding the, like, entrance to this one's a little, like, the entrance to the secret exit to get to this chapter is a little mean. So it's just nice to have little easy ones like that, that are just, hey, this is very obviously a different block, why don't you ground pound it? Were we to come in here with the lights off, we would be able to, the lights would be on now, but we don't really care. But what we do care about is this small passageway of cave monsters. Not a big fan of them. You can kind of take the risk and just go through without killing them, kind of slowly walking through as opposed to killing them. Killing them ironically, is the slower method to get through there, whereas slowly creeping through is a bit quicker. Slowly creeping through is a slight bit riskier, though, because since they get... creeping through is slightly a bit riskier, because we're going to have to traverse back through that hallway, so we're going to have to deal with them once more. I do feel like killing them is still slower than creeping through there twice, though. I'm not saying that, like, oh, if you creep through, it's gonna be slower on your, like, second pass or something. And I was about to say, I thought there was 2 spearmen in here. I guess we might have scrolled it and it despawned in a weird way. So since we didn't kill them, we kind of have to take the more riskier path of passing through here while they are all alive. And yep, it didn't end up working out for us. Luckily, we were only hit twice. Could have gone smoother, but, you know, whatever. I generally crouch through these guys. You don't really need to crouch. Like, as you can see, you can frickin' attack and you won't wake them up. You won't wake them up as long as you don't touch them. So you can do whatever. Oh, I guess you can also ground pound. Ground pounding them will wake them up without touching them, but I mean, that kind of goes without saying. Ground pounding interacts with most things anyways. And here we have the giant spearman. We were able to find him without issue. Like I've said before, you want to kind of get good at killing these guys without touching the ground, which I'm doing a very bad job at doing. There's kind of a little trick that I generally use is ground pound them like twice and then do a full jump up, holding up the D-pad to get some air to kind of correct yourself so you can kind of, I guess, stay on him better. And that's kind of my little trick to it. But I've been doing a very job bad at it. Yeah, that's fine. We got a torch in there. You know, whatever. It was dark. We needed a torch. I guess we've angered the DM because it's time for Story 2, Avoid the Rocks. Everyone's favorite lovable scenario of falling rocks killing you unfairly. Everybody's favorite. So yes, it is time for the second chapter, Gimmick Mechanic. They're the same thing. Calling things gimmicks isn't really that, like, offensive to them, because a gimmick has kind of a negative connotation around it, but gimmick inherently isn't bad. But I suppose that's neither here nor there. The gimmick for this level is to avoid the falling rocks, or sometimes to accept that you're going to be hit by the falling rocks. Sometimes life plays out in funny ways, but despite the name of this level and the mechanic, etc., etc., we have yet to see a rock of any sort. We've seen a chef, an underground, a literally underground chef, slinging cakes to connoisseurs who managed to find him in his very well secretly hidden area. I guess you know that there's something back there. It's just a matter of finding it. And there we go. There's the giant rock. So yes, rocks fall into... there's small rocks, which you can use as projectiles, and there's big rocks, which squish you. Big rocks will only hurt you when they first fall. So, like, were the rock to hit the ground and the animation of them, like, falling off screen, that cannot affect you. Just because it hits you does not mean that you'll actually, like, get squished or anything. It needs to fall flat on your bonker, your noggin, your head, etc., your la cabeza. It hits your head, you get squished. It hits the ground first, you're safe. So you'll always be able to tell where rock generators are because they look like that. But not all openings like that will be rock generators. We will occasionally find instances of those where they're kind of red herrings and nothing will happen. So you just need to kind of keep an eye out, be careful around them, and everything will be fine. Because if you just walk under it foolishly, you're going to get hit. I mean, the worst thing that could happen if rocks don't come out of it is that a rock doesn't come out of it and hit you. And you also want to be careful. You don't want to just assume that it's going to be every other giant rock, small rock, giant rock, small rock, because some generators have different patterns to them. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for them. And you can get pretty darn close to those things without them hitting you, and the thing to knock me off was the small rock, because if the small rocks hit you wrong, they will kind of bonk you back. So generally, my advice for the small rocks is to hold up on the D-pad or jump up to them. That way, Wario grabs them properly. That unfortunately didn't work that time, though. It would seem that Wario is against me. I'm just going to, I guess, take this rock. I guess I had to sacrifice the rock to the back. The back. I had to sacrifice the rot to the back, is what I think I just said. But no, we must sacrifice the rock to the bat to be able to gain safe passage. And there's actually some hidden coins. There's some interestingly hidden coins in this area, if you know where to look. that one's interesting because you get coins off of it, and it's also a nice little shortcut. You don't have to actually take this way, but we want to demonstrate as much as we can with this game, so we'll take the scenic route, even though we found the shortcut. The shortcut that, honestly, well, I guess it doesn't pay better, because there was more coins on the other side. It was just, in fact, there were more coins to be had in that shortcut, and unfortunately, that did not work out for me. Luckily, I was able to catch myself on that ledge instead of falling straight down, but, you know, I guess things worked out. We got the money, we got even more money when we came up here, and we're going to end this poor Pirate Goom's life, because he is in our way. So yes, they're kind of showing the kind of main mechanic of the game with these rocks, where it's like, hey, these can be beneficial to you, but they can also be a hindrance, because we didn't really need them at all there. They were just there to kind of bother us. More than anything, and this is an interesting arrangement because you see coins, you see 2 Pirate Gooms, you're like, hey, just jump off the Pirate Gooms, I get the coins. But it's a little bit deeper than that, as we've come to learn that they like to hide little secrets within the kind of like optional secrets, which is something I'm a big fan of. You can kind of tell that there's something up there because you can't see the top of the screen. There's 2 Pirate Gooms as opposed to the one that you need. You might just assume they're being a little nice to you and giving you more than you need. This vertical shaft, in particular, is actually something that sticks out in my mind, because, like, there's a lot of instances of telegraphed secrets in this area. Like, that one back there, you could just straight up see that there were coins on the other side, and this one had coins against the wall, so you might actually just punch the wall trying to get to the coins. I know I've complained up and down about this game's secrets sometimes being a little too obtuse and kind of dumb, but generally I do feel that this game does telegraph its secrets pretty well. It's just there's those bad instances of, here's a labyrinth of hidden walls, have fun, jerk. This one also is actually pretty well telegraphed, because as you can see, you can actually see the bottom of the platform if you're very observant. I don't know how well that would convey on a frickin' Game Boy Color screen, but I mean, hey, them's the breaks, I suppose. And I'm guessing we're supposed to come through here with Flat Wario, but we can kind of cheat the system a little bit using our punch slide, crouch slide, maneuver, shrug, I don't know what to call it. Punch slide is actually a very good name. It's not very descriptive of what's going on, but who doggy is punch slide a nice word to say, and oh nice, I was glad I was able to do that, because there's actually a very interesting secret right here. Had I broken that block, I would have had a very difficult time showing it off, because if you come through here, you can crouch through, and there's more coins to be had up here. This is a very well hidden secret. You can kind of tell it's there, though, because the wall ends, so it's not even, like, unfair. It's just kind of a pain to get to, because if you break this enemy block here, you're gonna have to kind of play around with it a lot to try and cram Wario in there. You might be able to use Flat Wario to get in there. I've personally never been able to do it, but I mean, that's not to say that it is impossible to be able to get in there if you destroy that enemy block. I just know I'm not skilled enough to get in there. And I always found this level interesting, I guess, to completely segue topics, because they completely ditch the lights off mechanic to kind of introduce you to the rock mechanic, which is nice, because then you can kind of get a not a better appreciation, but you don't have to worry about juggling 2 new mechanics at the same time. And I came back there to destroy that the enemy blocks, and then I realized I could actually use those enemy blocks to pick up the rest of those coins that I probably would have been locked out of had I messed with them a bit more. So there we go. We now have seen lights off, and we have now seen falling rocks. We've gotten the entire breadth of Chapter 2, including, I guess, a star. Star gem? Star jewelry? Who knows? It's a star. Wario's found a star. My god, he's melting. Oh boy, it's time for the chapter highlight for me. Story 3, Stop That Train. And you might be thinking, we've previously stopped a train. Yes, we have. But this one is no ordinary train. It's a subway. It's completely different, I promise. And it's not completely different. It is a little bit different, but that's neither here nor there. And by that I mean there's just something I want to talk about before that, which is it's kind of ironic that this is the chapter highlight to me, because it completely does away with the chapter mechanics that we were literally just taught to do. There's no lights out in this level, and there is no falling rocks to avoid. There is just pure train madness. And like I had said previously, this train is a little bit different. I mean, obviously, aesthetically, there's no nature rolling by. There's just gentle cavern lights passing by, and I guess a chiller version of the song than the normal train song. I believe, at least, that this is a similar version of the song that played then. I don't have the ear or the memory to tell you if that's true. But yes, this level is a little bit different also, I guess, mechanically, in that the first train was a bit more freeform, in which as soon as you could take to the roof, you could just run straight to the end and be done. You could kind of proceed either by the carts or by the roof and get to the end and just call it a day. Whereas this one, you need to proceed by both. It's a bit more linear. And I don't mean that as oh, this one's more linear. I dislike this one. Being linear isn't inherently bad, even though it's kind of become like a word that's like, ooh, it's linear. Like, kind of like Gimmick, where it's like people like, what a dumb gimmick. It's not inherently bad. It kind of gives the developers a chance to stretch their legs, kind of design something with the mind of, okay, I know exactly how they're going to proceed. And you can kind of get a bit smarter with your designs. I guess that's debatable because, I mean, hell, the things that you would probably do with the, a less linear level would probably be smarter. But I guess that's a debate and not exactly what I'm going for here. It's just, it gives the designers a chance to do something where they know you're going to proceed in such a way that they can design with that in mind. That's more of what I'm going for. But as well as being a bit more linear than the other level, I feel like it's easier to find the treasure door in this level, which this is in fact the treasure door. I guess given the more linear nature of this level, it's obvious that the treasure door would be a little bit easier to find, given that it's hidden in this very large optional area, as opposed to having that weird drop-off that was exclusive to finding the treasure door previously that you might have overlooked in the previous train level, because you'd be like, oh, I've already been down in the carts, I don't need to go back down there. As opposed in this one where it's like, oh, you know, I'm just kind of exploring, and you find that, and you'll be like, oh, well, I guess, you know, I found an optional area. And a funny thing about this level is, despite, like, you know, kind of mechanically being different, you know, aesthetically being different, whatever, the level ends exactly the same way. I mean, obviously we're going to stop that train, but we have that arrangement where we have to kill the slime by throwing an enemy at it to progress, so that's kind of weird. And speaking of kind of weird, we get another piece of jewelry that looks like a astral body. That's weird. It's not that weird. While Story 3 may be my personal highlight for Go to the Cellar, Story 4 is probably the quintessential level of Go to the Cellar, and it's really easy to see why. Find the Exit is a notable level straight from the get-go. Because congratulations, we've already found it. It's not that simple. There's surprisingly more to do in this video game than just having the level exit at the very beginning. It's, my god, there's more and more to do. There's always more to do, unfortunately. So yes, as you can see, it's a return to form for the lights off mechanic. There is, strangely, no boulder mechanic, though. And what's a bit disappointing about this level for me is you cannot make it to that door just from the get-go. Like, I could not make it to the exit if I knew what the level looked like with the lights off, or with, like, just some dumb luck and some making some blind jumps and just guessing well. You do have to actually complete the level, or at least the majority of it. Because if you know what the level looks like with the lights off, or you don't mind making blind jumps, guesses, you know, etc., you can obviously forego little arrangements like this where you mess with the light switches, which I'm doing because I don't know the level that well. I think I just combined the word level and well, mixing my sentence up a little bit. But yes, you could just forego the lights. There's nothing like stopping you from doing that. But you cannot make it to that door from the beginning. You do have to go through the level, which is maybe a little bit of a shame. I kind of wish that the level would let you just kind of skip straight to the end if you knew what to do, just maybe make it difficult to perform, so people who are just like, oh, I'm gonna fucking brute force it and just go straight to the end, or people who are like, I know what the level looks like when the lights are on, I'm going to brute force it with my mind instead of my fingers, etc. I think that would kind of enhance the level a little bit, because then it'd be like, oh, you know, this level lets you cheat the system. It's kind of fun in that. Make it a little bit more memorable. It isn't memorable because I always feel like little levels, like with like, oh, the ending of the level is visible from the beginning. I feel like that's always kind of memorable in of itself, but I feel like it would really enhance the level if, you could just completely cheat the system. And, oh good. I was hoping he would stay there, but I wasn't sure if, that crouch would be enough, because I want that chef to go ahead and put some cake in my mouth. Yeah, so you don't have the boulder mechanic at all in this level, but what you do have is they bring the chefs in, and they have the elevators, which we haven't seen since we were Chapter 4 in town. Yes, Chapter 4 in town. That was the name of the level. Also, we were also in town. That's the joke. The joke, man. Yeah, so this level ends up kind of being more of like a linear gauntlet, and I'm not gonna go ahead and say, oh, I hate this level because, you know, it's linear, because obviously I just made a big, like, oh, you know, being linear isn't always bad kind of thing. I just do wish that you could cheat the system. Cheating the system would just make the level that just more memorable. That being said, as well as, like, not being able to cheat the system, I do feel it is weird that the boulder mechanic is gone. I don't understand why. And hello, chef. So that was the treasure door. They kind of try and bar you from getting to it by putting this down elevator, which if you were Fat Wario and stepped on it, would immediately go down, because the down elevators only descend if you're Fat Wario. And also, I always thought the chefs were kind of funny, because once they make their cake shot, they immediately retreat. Which is always funny, especially if they, like, hit you, because it's like they've done what they want, but they know Fat Wario will kill them if he bumps into them, so they're just like, we gotta get out of here regardless, because if they missed a shot, Wario's gonna come after them in a blind fury of, why, you tried to feed me cake, I'm on a diet. And if they hit, they're like, he will smash us with his newfound girth. They know Wario is an aggressive guy and will use whatever means to defeat his enemies. Is this a... Nope, that is not a hidden exit. Or, not hidden exit. There is no hidden exit here, surprisingly. But hidden area is actually what I meant to say. So yes, I always thought it was kind of interesting to take the boulder mechanic out, especially since flying through the air as a flat Wario. Well, flat Wario is actually what I was trying to say. Yes, as a flat Wario would kind of be an interesting mechanic to add to the darkness, because it'd be like, oh, it's dark, and you know, you could make a blind like fall if you so wanted. So it'd be kind of an interesting thing to combine, and I could have used that that chef to smash those blocks and get some extra coins, but I wasn't too worried about it. And dang, I thought it'd be safe there. I probably had to crouch for safety. Unfortunately, that happened neither of those times, and let's just go ahead and get up there. Didn't want to bump my head into yet another skullcopter. And there's probably some cash to have over here. Or there isn't. There's no cash, and for some reason there's this little, like, divot in the wall, but it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, I feel like taking the boulders out was maybe a missed opportunity on the level designer's part, but yeah, who knows? They didn't put the boulders here. Boulders are only present in Story 2 and Story 5, so they're more of a sub-mechanic as opposed to the lights-off mechanic, which are in 3 out of the 5 levels. And as you can see here, we were able to see the end of the level, but these 2 weight blocks were what was stopping us from getting up here from the get-go. Because you can't destroy those unless you're Fat Wario and jump on them. So it was impossible to get this door through any means other than going through the entirety of the level. Which, you know, like, I've said my piece, but I do feel like it would have enhanced the level a little bit were you able to make it to the exit from the beginning. And also, I have absolutely no idea what this treasure is supposed to be. Another shield? More jewelry? And now it's time to finish Chapter 2, Go to the Cellar, with Story 5, defeat the Cave Master? The Cave Master. I would like to remind you that this is Wario's cellar. This is his property. If anyone deserves the title Cave Master, it's Wario. This schmuck thinks he can come along and declare himself master of this cave. Ooh, the audacity of this fellow. I cannot wait to defeat him, even if he weren't standing in the way of our 3 precious money bags, which had been wrongfully stolen from us. We would still defeat this guy just because it's like, who the hell, you know, does he think he is? I mean, he's broken into our cellar, declared himself the master of the cave, and, you know, there's zombies here. These are our zombies. How dare him think he's better than us? So that zombie back there, you can actually use him beneficially to you to just kill the zombie itself and that cave monster. And then you can retreat back to the light as long as you don't fall off that platform. This one, however, is a little bit more difficult. You probably could make a jump over it and kill the zombie if you timed that well, but I, in fact, did not, so I'm going to have to retreat backwards. Zombie Wario cannot jump, and he falls through platforms if you transform into a zombie in the air. He'll fall through those thin platforms that you can jump through but not fall through. Zombie Wario, however, will fall through them. Because this opening part of this level uses zombie for both that upper arrangement and this bottom one. Because we can use the zombie to get to a hidden area beneath it. But there is like a little bit of an extra hidden area in it. But unfortunately, you need to herd the zombie over to the right side of this room to be able to accomplish that. I don't know if there's a better way to herd the zombie where the idiot won't attack like every 10 seconds, but I couldn't get it to work, so I just had to fast forward that bit because, surprise, surprise, I'm recording this in post because there's a bit of this level that's going to make it incredibly obvious why I'm doing it in post. But for now, we'll leave it as a little surprise because we have a chef to deal with, a cake slinging meister. So you get the chef to the top, and you are rewarded 30 coins, which I'll remind you, this is what you need to get the zombie over, why you need to herd him over to the right side of that room to get 30 coins. I honestly don't think it's worth it. Given the time you have to spend, I had to spend 40 seconds luring that zombie over into prime condition to be able to accomplish getting down here. So I don't honestly think it's worth your time to come down here. This money's just, you might as well just say screw it, it's not worth your time. It is interesting though, because there is an easier bit of the hidden area to get to, and you'll be able to see it beyond this wall. If I were to fall down to the left, there's a bit more money to be had. There's not any like interesting arrangement or anything, but I completely blanked on it after, I guess I just went brain dead after dealing with that zombie. So congratulations, zombie. You may have not eaten my brains, but you did manage to result in brain dead situation. And here we go. You can, it's a bit late, but you can see why I'm recording this in post, because we have the final, at least to my knowledge, maybe I'm still brain dead about it, but I believe this is the final fake wall labyrinth. It's not going to be the last time we're going to require fast forwarding through something kind of obnoxious, but it is the last fake wall labyrinth. You gotta count your blessings where you can get them, I suppose. I mean, it also gives us a chance to listen to some wonderful Wario Land Shake It music while we're at it, so I mean, hey, it can't be all that bad, right? And luckily, we also get a little break in the middle of it, which we return to the still good but slightly less good Wario Land 2 music. But what we do get is a return of the boulder mechanic, which you do see the boulder mechanic a bit later in the game, so it's not like it's never present again. Although it is very only minorly present after this. I wish it was a bit more present in these in Chapter 2, Go to the Cellar. Since you see it here, it's native here, it makes a lot of sense here contextually. It would have been nice to see a bit more of the boulder segment. I already talked about the how I think maybe a dark segment where, you know, having to float through blind would have been interesting, but I mean, hey, what are you gonna do if there's only very few boulders? Because that's the end of the boulder mechanic in Chapter 2. It's just, it gets the one story, and then it gets those two little boulders present. It's kinda lame. I would have liked to see a bit more of it, to be honest. But hey, what are you gonna do? Especially when we have very, very interesting hidden walls to break through. It's kind of funny that I ironically missed the, maybe the easier hidden money to get to, where if just from the start of the level, if you get hit by the zombie in the air, you fall through and would have found it. But I went for the harder money that required the zombie, and then got all of the money in the stupid labyrinth, but then missed on the, like, maybe easy, like, 12 or so coins that you can get just for, like, even for, like, going for those 30 coins that I went for earlier, you can get for essentially free after that, and just, I completely blanked on them. So we got all the hard money to get, but none of the, like, super easy money. But there we go, the end of the hidden labyrinth, so hooray, no more of that, I guess. You gotta be happy, it's over, it's over. There's gonna be more, obnoxious stuff in the game, but hey, aren't all games filled with obnoxious stuff from time to time? You know, it's whatever. This little area here is where you'll be rejected if you were to fail in your fight against the Cave Master, but we will not fail against him. Our biceps will strike true, and we'll defeat that guy who thinks he can claim our cellar in his name. And look, here's 30 coins just for jumping up here, just for not destroying all the blocks immediately. Those, so simple to get, as opposed to the 40 seconds I spent getting that zombie. And yes, I'm not going to shut up about that, that was kind of obnoxious. But whatever, I'm sure there's a better way to lure the zombie over, and that was just me being ignorant of a better scenario. So we have two chef arrangements over here. One to get 50 coins, which we're going to have to make a couple passes through here because I think it's practically impossible. And by practically, I mean literally impossible to collect all 50 coins as you fall down. It requires me 3 passes through of, like, coming back up here, falling down to get all the coins. I'm not sure if you could possibly get it in 2, but it took me 3, so hey, if you can do it in 2, you're more skilled at me at falling on things. So unfortunately, that chef I fell on was the second chef in this room, so I'm actually going to need to leave the room to reset the arrangement to respawn that second chef. Which sucks, but, you know, they're bakers, not chefs, because you don't cook cakes, you bake cakes. So, I mean, whatever. But yes, we need this second chef. Baker, chef, food-wielding donut cake man. I said donut because they're donuts in Wario Land 3, not because I'm an idiot. But I am also an idiot, so I suppose that is relevant. But yes, you bring the chef farther down here, and there's some hidden blocks to break, which hides the hidden door for the treasure. So just beyond there is the treasure door. I mean, that is the treasure door. The treasure door isn't beyond it. That's kind of a weird way to state that, I suppose. Luckily, you can just walk against the wall, and the fat will burn off. You don't have to walk back and forth, what I normally do. Luckily, walking against the wall will burn those calories. Hooray. Also, speaking of a hooray, I didn't forget to come back for that 10 coin like I thought I would. And this is a beautiful tackle right there. I managed to smash all of those blocks in just one go. Like, maybe it's not as impressive as it felt, but it felt pretty good to just break all of those last blocks in just one tackle. And here is the Cave Master, the guy we've been waiting to kick the butt of. And luckily, he's a pretty easy fight. He even steals our move, though. He tries to tackle us the way we tackle those ingrates who get in our way. But we're going to show him we're better at him than he is. So all you do is tackle him whenever he's still skidding, and he'll fall off. And then after 2 hits, he comes up with this awful damaged palette. And I'm not sure how much of the fight changes. I keep jumping because I keep assuming when he hits the ground it's going to try and stun us. But it doesn't. For some reason, it just shows you his damaged palette, which is really bad. I don't know why they didn't just swap the blue out for that red as opposed to swapping the white for the red and the blue for the white. It's really confusing. And for beating the level, we get a horn. I don't know if it's a horn you blow into or if it's like a bullhorn that's been snapped off. I kind of think maybe like a bullhorn that's been snapped off is appropriate, because I think maybe it'd be like, oh yeah, the Cave Master, break off his horns or whatever, even though you don't actually get them from breaking them off. You get it from something entirely separate, and that also seems a little metal for the game. So it's probably safe to assume that it's a blowy horn as opposed to a owie horn. So yes, that is the end of Chapter 2, Go to the Cellar. And unlike any other hidden like chapter in the game, this actually doesn't lead to the end of the game. This leads straight into Chapter 3, Maze Woods. So were you to beat this normally, it would show you the, like let's say you beat this chapter instead of doing SST Cup your first time around, you would see the cutscene for getting to Maze Woods, I believe. I don't think there's a different cutscene that plays. Maybe there is, though. I'll look it up, and if there is, maybe I'll put it in here, but I don't think there is a separate cutscene. So despite this being the only chapter that doesn't result in the end of the game, it isn't the only chapter that will take you back to will take you to a different chapter, and we'll actually see that next episode, so I'll see you guys next time.